Welcome. Today we are at the Helen Keller Birthplace in Tuscumbia, Alabama, and I am here with Lynn Weaver, docent and hostess here. How long have you been working at?
At least 20 years.
20 years. Okay. Wow. That's awesome. I'm so excited. Thanks so much for having me here
You're
today.
welcome.
And
Thank you.
agreeing to be on my live podcast. And so, tell me something about the birthplace of Helen Keller.
Well, this house is 200 years old this year. It was built in 1820 by Helen's grandparents. David and Mary Keller came from Virginia, bought 640 acres, and built their home. They named it Ivy Green because of the English ivy growing everywhere when they arrived.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're on 10 acres today, so it looks quite different, but they would have had barns, gardens, orchards, outbuildings, farm animals. Everything was made, raised, or grown right here on the property.
Okay.
85% is original because it stayed in the family.
That's wonderful.
Even a lot of original clothing. You'll see Helen's clothing.
Yeah. Did they grow cotton?
They did. It was a cotton plantation.
Okay. So, well, Helen is just a fantastic inspiration and humanitarian, and her life story is just incredible. And Sullivan as well, and of course, Miracle Worker movie, and so what must it have been like in 1880? She was born in 1880,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Mm-hmm. She was born June 27, 1880.
Okay. And when did she meet Anne Sullivan?
She was almost 7, 3 months before turning 7 when Anne came here. Helen was born a healthy, normal child. She could see and hear. At 19 months, she got very sick, and the high fever that she ran left her deaf and blind.
Oh, wow.
More modern doctors said that was probably scarlet fever, but in the time period, the doctor said it was acute congestion of the brain and stomach.
Okay. And then where was Anne from?
Anne was from Massachusetts. She actually had a very sad background.
Oh.
Her family were very poor Irish immigrant potato farmers, and her mother died young of tuberculosis, which was rampant.
Oh, wow.
And she and her little crippled brother Jimmy were taken to a poorhouse and left. It was a terrible, really inappropriate place for two children. And her little brother didn't survive long, and that bothered Annie the rest of her life.
Oh, wow.
Annie had always had eye infections, but since there was no money for medicine, it had been ignored. And the poorhouse was very unsanitary. What she had was trachoma, and that's caused from bacteria.
Okay.
So Annie was going blind, more and more blind every year.
Wow. Wow. And how did she come from the East Coast to Alabama?
Well, when Annie was 14 years old, she begged some visitors at the poorhouse to please let her get out and go to school somewhere. She said, "I want to learn to read." And by then, she had lost so much of her sight, it was Perkins School for the Blind. So she had just graduated, actually was valedictorian of her class, even as behind as she was when she arrived at age 14. And while she was at Perkins, they did surgeries on her eyes,
Okay.
which helped, but she was still legally blind when she came here. But the Kellers had been searching for help ever since Helen's illness, and finally were advised to take her to see a Dr. Chisholm in Maryland. Although he couldn't help Helen, he gave the family some good advice. He said, "Take Helen to see Alexander Graham Bell."
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's a connection.
That is. So the 6-year-old Helen met him, and they were lifelong friends.
Oh, that's great.
He was actually a teacher of the deaf.
Okay.
That's why the doctor advised the family to take Helen to see him.
Now, Lynn, you said you were a teacher too.
Right.
So there's always great teachers out there, right?
Well, I hope so.
So that's really fascinating. So I wonder if Helen influenced some of his inventions, and
I don't know. We think of him as the man who invented the telephone, which of course he did, but he had even married one of his students. Working with deaf people was what he enjoyed more than anything.
Wow.
And so I don't know about Helen influencing him, but I think they both influenced each other.
Right. Okay, so Ivy Green is in Tuscumbia, Alabama. And what was 1880s, early 1900s Tuscumbia kind of like?
Well, it was very rural South, and you can imagine when Annie came here, this was like a big farm, with animals and barns and gardens and orchards. Quite different from the busy Boston area that she had come from. She probably wondered, what she'd gotten herself into.
Yeah. Well, exactly. That time, Boston was bustling with new business.
That's right.
And this was real country.
That's right. Alexander Graham Bell had told the Kellers about Perkins and advised them. Write a letter. Maybe someone from Perkins would come to your home in Tuscumbia. And so, Annie had graduated and needed a job, so she was willing to get on the train and come here.
Okay.
And that's how she arrived. The Kellers paid her $25 a month plus room and board.
Okay.
And that was actually a very good income in that time period.
Sure. And kind of a traveling teacher.
That's right.
Or at least to get down here.
That's right. That's right.
So Helen and Annie were companions and friends for how long?
50 years.
50 years.
Annie stayed her whole life with Helen.
Yeah.
She was 20 when she came here.
And I read that Helen visited 39 countries.
We have a list of 39 countries that we know Helen visited. Helen had eventually become a counselor for the American Foundation for the Blind, and that's the job that sent her all over the world on behalf of that organization.
Well, and the Institute for the Blind, is that here too?
We do have a blind school here.
Okay.
The Talladega School for the Blind in Alabama is the most famous for Alabama, but we do have a blind school.
Was she critical in the development of that in Talladega?
She was, and then all over it, almost I guess every state probably now has blind schools, and of course Helen's name always comes up when those schools are mentioned.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about the festival, the summer festival that happens when?
Okay. Well, Helen's birthday is June 27th, so every summer around her birthday we have a Helen Keller Festival. And it's very nice, all sorts of entertainment, and we have a beautiful park here in Tuscumbia, Spring Park, and there's arts and crafts and music and car shows and runs and golf challenges. There's a lot of activities for a whole week around her birthday. But we do the Miracle Worker play every summer here on the grounds. And that's for 6 weekends. Every Friday and Saturday night, beginning the first weekend in June through the middle of July.
Okay. And how long is the play?
It starts at 8 every night. It's over by 10.
Okay.
And it's on the grounds here where it actually happened, where Helen learned her first word, water.
And is there refreshments so people can either eat here, or do they bring a picnic? Or
we have a concession stand, so there are choices of things to eat and drink at the concession stand. And we do have a short intermission in the middle of the play, so you can do that.
So how much are tickets for the festival and the play?
Okay. Well, the festival is free. There's a small admission to get into the music park, about $5 a person is all.
That's wonderful.
And the play tickets are $15 to have a reserved seat, and $10 if you want to sit on the bleacher seats. But they're all good seats.
Excellent. Excellent. So walk me through kind of a tour. If someone comes to Ivy Green to visit, they would meet a docent like yourself, and then where would you take them?
We take them to, we start at the front door by the family pictures, and we tell them all about Helen's mother and father.
So family first.
That's right, and a little bit about the house and the history. about the original floors and the handmade nails and the 85% original furnishings and the clothing.
Oh, that turn of the century architecture is just amazing. I loved driving through here and seeing all the little cottage houses still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a lot of 1800s homes in Tuscumbia. Yeah. And then we go from room to room and tell them a little bit about all the furnishings and also the whole time about Helen and her education. Helen and Annie spent 2 years learning everything she could teach her at home, and then they went back and forth to Perkins School for the Blind together. They went to a girls' school called Cambridge School for Girls in Massachusetts.
Okay.
And then,
I know where that is.
Do you?
Yes,
Okay.
I went to college in Rhode Island.
Okay.
So, okay.
Well, then Helen graduated from Radcliffe College, which was the sister school to Harvard.
Sure.
And graduated in 4 years with honor.
Wow.
When Helen was 10, she decided she wanted to speak with her voice like everyone else.
10. So when was she first met Anne when she was
3 months before turning 7 when Annie came. And the event at the pump that changed Helen's life happened very quickly. She quickly caught on to the spelling and was spelling the words right back to Annie. But Helen thought it was a game they were playing. It didn't mean anything until they got to the pump that's still in the backyard.
Yeah.
And when she felt the water flowing over her hands with Annie spelling W-A-T-E-R over and over, she later wrote that it brought back a flash memory of Wawa from 19 months.
Wow.
And that one little memory pretty much changed her life.
Triggered other responses.
Yes. She learned 30 words that first afternoon.
Wow.
Yes.
That's super impressive.
Helen was very intelligent. By end of summer, she knew 625 words and had started learning how to read Braille.
Wow. But that's super incredible. I remember seeing The Miracle Worker, the movie, when I was younger, and then again, I was telling my daughter on the way over here that Patty Duke played Helen Keller, and then later on she played Annie. So she was the whole.
She did. She actually came to Ivy Green several times. She loved Ivy Green, and said playing those two parts changed her life.
I bet. Just an absolute miracle that she wanted to have a voice. And it's incredible that she had not just a physical voice, but she also had a voice for the unspoken.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
Really awesome.
Helen, at age 10, decided she wanted to talk like everyone else. So Helen and Annie went to the Horace Mann School for the Deaf in Boston, and the principal, Sarah Fuller, gave them lessons on the vibration method of speaking. Helen would feel against the teacher's throat, against the teacher's nose, her lips, and literally her tongue movements for every sound.
Wow.
And somehow Helen was smart enough to put all that together, and she would utter the sound she felt because she wasn't hearing anything.
Right.
And when she said it correctly, they could spell and tell her. And then she would practice it over and over and over and over until she memorized how she did her mouth to make every sound. And so Helen learned to talk. And just imagine, she gave talks and speeches all over the world without ever hearing herself.
Yeah, that is really incredible.
It is.
Just to not know your own voice.
That's right.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
So this is also an education museum. So schools can come to visit here as well.
We have lots and lots of school groups. And they can come and see everything in the house and all the outbuildings as well. And we go out and talk to the whole group and tell them all about Helen and Annie and that the life in 1820, and which is very different for them today.
Yes.
And,
no one has a cell phone?
I know. When I tell them Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone, I have to tell them it wasn't a cell phone.
No. It wasn't the little one. But that's wonderful.
Right.
And so to find out more information, someone would check the website, which is
we have HelenKellerBirthplace.org.
okay.
And of course, you can always call us here in Tuscumbia at Ivy Green. We're happy to answer questions. And when you come and tour the home, that also includes seeing the famous pump, which is still outside.
That's wonderful.
I know everybody loves the pump.
What
And,
else do you have outside that I was noticing?
well, we have the original kitchen and cook's bedroom.
Okay.
We have not only the pump, but we do have an ice house. Now, the ice house was built back in 2009. The Kellers would have had an ice house, and we like for children to understand how they had to gather
Sure.
ice in the winter and store it in the ice house. That was a refrigerator for them.
That was quite the luxury too.
It
because,
was.
You had to have the storage space, and then
That's right. And the equipment to cut the ice,
exactly
haul it to the ice
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
And then you get to
Having
look-
ice in Alabama in the
That's
early
true.
1900s.
That's true. And they said it would last for months. Of course, they would have thick layers of shavings and sawdust between the layers and
Wow.
over the whole thing to insulate it.
I'll be
So-
sure to get some pictures.
Okay.
of that too.
And then you get to look into the little cottage, and there you see from the front door and the side door everything. It's all original. It's really like stepping back in time. And that's where Helen was actually born because Captain Keller had married his second wife. His first wife had passed away, and he turned the little cottage into their bridal suite.
Okay.
So Helen was born out there, but also that's where Annie would take her to teach her and get control of the behavior.
To take care of some discipline.
That's right. That's right. The family did not know how to teach a blind and deaf child, and Helen pretty much got away with a lot, I think.
She ruled the roost.
She
right?
did.
That's-
She did. I think she ruled the household.
My grandparents would have said that.
I've heard that too.
Well, that's just wonderful. And so, is there anything else you'd like to share?
Well, you can explore the whole 10 acres that we have. One thing we have also is the Lions Club Walk. The Lions Club is the largest service organization in the world, and their main thing is helping people who have vision problems. And
I did not know that.
it's all because of Helen Keller. She went to their convention in Ohio, and she spoke to the Lions Club and challenged them to be the Knights of the Blind. So they took up the challenge, and all over the world, that's what they do to help people with vision problems.
That's wonderful.
The Lions Club Walk, it has memorials that were sent from different countries. They're labeled, and it has different Lions Clubs come and put up their little banner in the case.
Sure.
And there is a DVD that they made. It is not Helen, but it is Helen's speech. It is a reenactment of her challenge to the Lions Club, so that people know why they do what they do.
Okay. You're a smart lady.
Really.
You know,
Really.
you can lead, but you got to have a good team behind you.
That's right. That's right.
You know? So good for her for getting that support and encouragement and continuity.
That's right.
Even after she's gone, that
It just keeps on going.
Yeah.
That's right.
Wonderful. Well, Lynn, thank you so much for being here today with Travel with Wendy, and I really appreciate your time and taking us on a walk through Ivy Green.
Well, you're welcome.
Thank you for being here with Talking Travel with Wendy.
You are welcome. Thank you for coming.